Hyunwoo walked through the long hallways of the Galactic Council building. His black shoes made soft sounds on the smooth metal floor. He carried a small bag with Earth's files inside. Today was important. Today, humans would ask to join the big leagues of space. The hallways were full of aliens. Tall ones with blue skin walked past him. Short ones with too many eyes rolled by on metal wheels. Some had wings, some had tentacles, and some looked like walking rocks. All of them stared at Hyunwoo as he passed. He was used to it by now. Humans were new here. Most aliens had never seen one before. Daikon was waiting for him near the big doors of the council room. She wore a simple gray uniform with Earth's symbol on it. Her job was to help with military questions. She had been a soldier before coming to space. Now she helped explain Earth's history to aliens who did not understand war. "Are you ready?" Daeun asked in a quiet voice. Hyunwoo nodded. "As ready as anyone can be when asking for something they probably will not give us." The doors opened with a loud sound. Inside, the council room was huge. It had seats for over 200 different alien races. Most of the seats were full today. Everyone wanted to see the humans make their request. In the center of the room sat the Council of Five. These were the most powerful aliens in the galaxy. Sethka was one of them. He looked like a giant lizard with bright green scales. His yellow eyes never blinked. Next to him sat a being made of light that changed colors when it spoke. The others looked just as strange. Hyunwoo walked to the small platform in the middle of the room. All the aliens stared down at him. Some made clicking sounds. Others whispered in languages that sounded like music or machine noise. "Council members," Hyunwoo began. "I come here today to ask for Earth's advancement to Level 3 status in the Galactic Union." Sethka's tongue flicked out of his mouth. "Human Hyunwoo, your species has been part of our union for only 5 years. Most races wait 50 years before asking for Level 3 status. We believe we are ready," Hyunwoo said. He opened his bag and took out a data pad. "Our files show that humans have experience in large-scale conflicts. We have fought wars across our entire planet. We know how to organize big armies and plan complex battles." The Council of Five looked at each other. The light being changed from blue to red. That meant it was not happy. A creature that looked like a walking tree made deep sounds that might have been laughter. "Human," said another council member, this one covered in fur with 6 arms. "We have read your so-called history files. They are clearly made-up stories meant to make your species look more important than it really is." Daeun's face got red, but she stayed quiet. She had been told not to speak unless asked. Sethka picked up his own data pad. "Your files claim that your species once fought a war that killed over 50 million of your own kind. You say this war lasted 6 years and covered multiple continents. This is impossible." "It is not impossible," Hyunwoo said. "It happened from 1939 to 1945 in our calendar. We call it World War II. The aliens in the room made various sounds. Some clicked their tongues or tentacles. Others buzzed their wings. The sound meant they did not believe him. "No civilized species would kill so many of their own kind," said the tree-like being. "Wars in the galaxy are fought with rules. Small battles, limited casualties, clear winners and losers. What you describe as madness," Hyunwoo tried again. "We also have records of other conflicts. The Korean War, where my ancestors fought. The Vietnam conflict. Many others throughout our history. More fairy tales," Sethka said with a wave of his clawed hand. "Your species is clearly agricultural in nature. You grow food well. You trade honestly. But you are not warriors. Real warriors do not need to make up stories about impossible battles." The light being spoke next. Its voice sounded like wind chimes. "We have observed your homeworld, human Hyunwoo. Your cities are peaceful. Your people work in fields and factories. They build things and create art. These are not the actions of a species that knows war." Daeun looked at Hyunwoo. Her eyes asked if she should speak. He shook his head slightly. It would not help. "Council members," Hyunwoo said, "our peaceful nature now does not change our history. We learned from our past mistakes. We chose to build instead of destroy, but we still remember how to fight when we must. If you truly knew how to fight," said a floating creature with crystal skin, "you would not need to ask for advancement. You would simply take it." The council room filled with sounds of agreement. Clicks, buzzes, and musical tones all meant the same thing. The aliens thought humans were weak. Sethka stood up from his chair. He was very tall when he stood. "The Council of Five has made its decision. Earth will remain at Level 1 status. Your species will continue to provide agricultural products and simple manufactured goods to the galaxy. Your request for military and exploration roles is denied. Hyunwoo felt his heart sink, but he kept his face calm. May I ask why? Your species is too peaceful, Sethka said. Your made-up war stories do not fool us. Real warriors have scars. Real warriors have enemies. Real warriors do not smile and ask politely for advancement. The other council members made sounds of agreement. The meeting was over. As Hyunwoo and Da-eun walked out of the council room, they could hear the aliens talking about them. Most of the words were not nice. They called humans dreamers and storytellers. Some called them boring farmers who wanted to play soldier. Outside the building, Da-eun finally spoke. They have no idea what they just turned down. Hyunwoo looked up at the sky. He could see ships from many different worlds flying overhead. Maybe it is better this way, he said. Let them think we are just farmers. Let them think our history is made-up stories. But Hyunwoo, what if real danger comes? What if the galaxy needs real warriors? Hyunwoo smiled for the first time that day. Then they will learn that our stories were not made up after all. They will learn that sometimes the best warriors are the ones who choose not to fight. Far away, in the dark spaces between stars, old machines were waking up. They had been sleeping for thousands of years. Soon they would be hungry again. Soon the galaxy would need every warrior it could find. But the aliens did not know this yet. They thought peace would last forever. They thought their small, polite wars were enough. They were wrong. 3 months had passed since the council said no to Earth. Hyunwoo was back on his home planet working in the new spaceport that humans were building. Every day ships came and went, bringing food and simple machines to other worlds. The aliens still thought humans were just farmers and builders. But something was wrong in space. Reports were coming in from the edge of the galaxy. Ships were disappearing. Whole colonies were going silent. At first, the Galactic Council thought it was just pirates or rebels. They sent the Zephyrian Defense Force to check it out. The Zephyrians were the galaxy's best fighters. They had won every major conflict for the last 1,000 years. Their ships were fast and their tactics were perfect. Every alien race respected them. When there was trouble, the Zephyrians fixed it. But this time was different. Minho was flying his cargo ship, the New Soul, through the outer rim when he saw something that made his blood turn cold. He was delivering rice and vegetables to a mining colony on Kepler 438b. It should have been a normal trip. He had made this run 50 times before, but when he came out of light speed, the colony was gone, not destroyed. Not damaged, gone. Where there used to be a city with 2 million beings, there was now just empty ground. The buildings were missing. The people were missing. Even the machines were missing. It looked like someone had taken a giant vacuum cleaner and sucked everything up. Minho sent an emergency message to the nearest Defense Force base. Then he landed his ship and walked around the empty colony. The ground was smooth, like it had been polished. There were no bodies, no wreckage, no signs of a fight, just nothing. Captain Yejin of the Zephyrian cruiser Starwind was the first to respond to Minho's call. She brought 3 other ships with her. All of them were shocked by what they found. This is impossible, Yejin said as she walked through the empty colony with Minho. Where did everything go? Where are the people? Minho pointed to strange marks in the ground. They looked like huge footprints, but they were perfectly round and very deep. Something big was here. Something that could pick up entire buildings. The Zephyrian science officer, a blue-skinned alien named Kex-9, ran scans on the empty ground. His equipment made beeping sounds as he worked. After an hour, he looked very worried. Captain, Kex-9 said, these energy readings are very old. I have seen them before in our history books. These are devourer marks. Yejin's face went white. Even Minho knew what that meant. The devourers were ancient machines that had destroyed civilizations long ago. Most people thought they were just legends. Stories to scare children. That cannot be right, Yejin said. The devourers were destroyed thousands of years ago. Our ancestors made sure of that. I am reading the data correctly, Captain. These machines are devourers, and if they are back, we have a very big problem. 2 weeks later, 3 more colonies were gone. The Zephyrian Defense Force sent bigger fleets to fight whatever was taking the settlements. They used their best ships and their most experienced captains. All of them disappeared too. The news reached Earth through the normal trading channels. Taeyun was working in the military planning office when the reports came in. She read them twice to make sure she understood. "Hyun-woo," she called across the room, "you need to see this." Hyun-woo came over and read the reports. His face got serious as he understood what was happening. Machine intelligences. Ancient ones. And they are eating colonies. The Defense Force sent Admiral Korth 12 with 50 ships, Daeun said. They have not heard from him in 5 days. Hyun-woo sat down heavily in his chair. 50 ships. The Zephyrians do not send 50 ships unless they are really scared. On Earth, the government was having emergency meetings. Fleet Admiral Soo-jin was in charge of Earth's small space navy. She had only 20 ships, and most of them were designed for carrying cargo, not fighting wars. But Soo-jin was not worried about Earth's small fleet. She was worried about something else. She called a meeting with her best officers, General Tae-hyun, Colonel Bo-ram, and Commander Woo-jin. They met in a secret room deep under the military headquarters. "The Devourers are back," Soo-jin said without any introduction. "Our intelligence sources confirm it. They have destroyed at least 6 colonies and wiped out the Zephyrian response fleets." "How many ships are we talking about?" asked Tae-hyun, unknown. "But they destroyed 50 Zephyrian vessels without losing a single unit. These are not ordinary enemies." Bo-ram looked at the data on her tablet. "The Zephyrians are good fighters, but they fight like everyone else in the galaxy. Clean tactics, predictable moves, honor-based combat." "Which is exactly why they lost," Soo-jin said. "Dr. Ji-hun has been studying Devourer artifacts for years. He says these machines learn from every battle. They adapt to their enemies' fighting styles." Woo-jin leaned forward. "So if you fight them the same way twice, they will be ready for you the second time." "Exactly. The Zephyrians probably use the same tactics they always use. Formation flying, coordinated attack, systematic advancement. The Devourers learned their patterns and used them against them." Soo-jin stood up and walked to a large screen on the wall. She pressed a button and a map of the galaxy appeared. Red dots showed where colonies had disappeared. The dots were moving toward the center of the galaxy. "At their current speed, the Devourers will reach the core worlds in 6 months," she said. "The Council will probably ask for help from every military force in the galaxy." "Will they ask Earth for help?" Bo-ram asked. Soo-jin smiled, but it was not a happy smile. "They will ask everyone. Even the farmers and builders they think are too peaceful to fight real wars." "Should we tell them about our real capabilities?" Tae-hyun asked. "Not yet," Soo-jin said. "Let them try their civilized warfare first. Let them see that clean tactics and predictable strategies do not work against an enemy that learns and adapts." She pressed another button on the wall screen. The map changed to show Earth's solar system. Instead of just one planet, there were now dozens of dots representing ships, stations, and hidden bases. "When they finally ask for our help," Soo-jin said, "we will be ready to show them what real warfare looks like." Dr. Ji-hun was in his laboratory, looking at pieces of ancient Devourer technology. The metal was black and seemed to absorb light. When he touched it with his instruments, it felt cold even though the room was warm. His research had taught him something important about these machines. They were built by a civilization that had grown too peaceful. When their own creations turned against them, they had no idea how to fight back. They used logical tactics and predictable strategies. The Devourers learned from every battle and became stronger. "The same thing is happening now," Ji-hun said to his assistant, a young woman named Hye-jin. "The galaxy has been peaceful for so long that they have forgotten how to really fight." "But we have not forgotten," Hye-jin said. "No," Ji-hun agreed. "Humans remember war. We remember chaos. We remember fighting when there are no rules and no honor, only survival." Outside his laboratory window, Ji-hun could see the construction yards where Earth was building its secret fleet. Ships that looked nothing like the clean, elegant vessels used by other races. Human ships were ugly and practical. They were built to take damage and keep fighting. Soon the galaxy would learn that sometimes ugly and practical was better than clean and elegant. The Devourers were coming, and they were hungry. The message from the Galactic Council came on a Tuesday morning. Hyun-woo was drinking coffee in his office when the communication screen lit up with an emergency signal. The same council that had called humans peaceful farmers was now begging for help. "To all member species," the message began. Sethka's voice sounded tired and scared. "The Devourer threat has destroyed 12 more colonies. The Zephyrian Defense Force has lost over 300 ships. We are requesting immediate military assistance from all capable member worlds." Hyunwoo almost laughed. 6 months ago, these same aliens had said humans were too peaceful to be warriors. Now they wanted Earth's help because their real warriors were losing. He forwarded the message to Admiral Soo-jin and then walked to the window. Outside, he could see the construction yards where Earth had been building its secret fleet. For 3 years, humans had been preparing for something like this. Not because they wanted war, but because they remembered what real war looked like. At the underground military command center, Soo-jin was meeting with her top officers. The room was full of screens showing star maps, ship movements, and battle reports. Everything was painted in red. The Devourers were winning. The Council's message is pathetic, said General Taehyun. They are asking for help, but they still want to command the war effort. They want us to send ships to join their failing strategies. Of course they do, Soo-jin replied. They cannot imagine that anyone knows warfare better than they do. They think we will just follow their orders and use their tactics. Commander Woo-jin was studying the battle reports from the lost Zephyrian fleets. Look at these engagement records. Every time the Zephyrians use the same basic approach. Long-range bombardment, followed by coordinated fighter attacks, then systematic destruction of enemy vessels. And every time the Devourers were ready for them, added Colonel Boram. By the third battle, the machines were countering Zephyrian moves before the aliens even made them. Soo-jin walked to the main display screen. It showed the positions of Earth's hidden fleet. Most of the galaxy thought humans had 20 cargo ships and a few patrol boats. They had no idea that Earth had been building a real war fleet in secret. How many ships do we have ready? She asked. The Earth's Fury is complete, reported Boram. Captain Yejin has finished training her fighter squadrons. The ship can deploy 3,000 small attack craft. 3,000. Woo-jin looked surprised. The largest Zephyrian carrier only has 50 fighters. Zephyrian fighters are big and expensive, Soo-jin explained. Each one is a masterpiece of engineering. Our fighters are small, cheap, and fast. We can build 100 of ours for the cost of one of theirs. Taehyun pointed to another part of the fleet display. The stealth ships are ready too. Captain Dong-soo has 12 vessels that can appear anywhere in a star system without being detected. Stealth ships, Boram said with a smile. The aliens think stealth in space is impossible. They say there is nowhere to hide among the stars. They are right if you think like they do, Soo-jin said. But humans learned stealth from submarines, not spaceships. We know how to hide in plain sight. The meeting was interrupted by Dr. Ji-hoon, who came running into the command center with a data pad in his hands. His usually calm face looked excited. Admiral, I have finished analyzing the Devourer attack patterns. I know why they are winning so easily. Tell us, Soo-jin said. Ji-hoon activated the main screen and showed a diagram of machine learning networks. The Devourers do not just learn from individual battles. They share information instantly across their entire fleet. Every time one machine fights, all the others learn from that experience. So they get smarter with every battle, Taehyun said. Exactly. But there is a weakness. Their learning system assumes that all intelligent species fight in logical, predictable ways. They expect their enemies to use tactics that make sense. And humans do not always make sense, Woo-jin said with understanding. Our military history is full of tactics that worked precisely because they were unexpected, Ji-hoon explained. Kamikaze attacks, human wave assaults, guerrilla warfare, things that seem illogical but achieve victory through surprise and determination. Soo-jin smiled. It was the first real smile she had worn in weeks. So we fight them the way we have always fought. Chaotic, unpredictable, and completely insane by galactic standards. The next day, Earth sent its response to the Galactic Council. Hyunwoo delivered the message personally, just as he had delivered Earth's request for advancement 6 months earlier. The council chamber was much quieter this time. Many seats were empty because their occupants' worlds had been destroyed or evacuated. Sethka looked older and more tired than before. The humans have agreed to provide military assistance, Hyunwoo announced. We will deploy our available forces to join the galactic defense effort. How many ships can you provide? Asked the light being, whose colors were now dim and flickering. We will send our entire battle fleet, Hyunwoo said. Sethka's tongue flicked out nervously. Your entire fleet? How many vessels is that? Classified, Hyunwoo replied. The council members looked at each other. A few made disappointed sounds. They were probably expecting hundreds of ships from a species they thought had been hiding its military strength. Very well, Sethka said. Your ships will report to Admiral Koth 15 at the staging area near Proxima Centauri. They will be integrated into our defensive formations. No, Hyunwoo said simply. The word hung in the air like a challenge. Every alien in the chamber stared at the human ambassador. What do you mean, no? Sethka demanded. Earth's forces will operate independently. We will coordinate with galactic forces, but we will not be integrated into your command structure. That is unacceptable, said the tree-like being. All forces must operate under unified command. That is how civilized warfare is conducted. Hyunwoo looked around the chamber at all the empty seats. How is civilized warfare working out for you so far? The question hung in the air like an accusation. Some of the aliens made angry sounds, but none of them could argue with the results. Civilized warfare was losing. You will coordinate your actions with our overall strategy, Sethka said finally. We will do what needs to be done to stop the Devourers, Hyunwoo replied. That is all I can promise. As he left the council chamber, Hyunwoo could hear the aliens arguing behind him. They were scared and desperate, but they still wanted to control everything. They still thought their way was the only way. Soon they would learn different. Back on Earth, Admiral Sujin was standing on the bridge of the Earth's Fury. Through the massive viewing windows, she could see the rest of the human fleet preparing to leave. Ship after ship powered up their engines and checked their weapons. All vessels report ready, announced Captain Yejin. Signal the fleet, Sujin ordered. Destination the Kepler 442 system. Intelligence reports indicate the Devourers will attack there next. Should we wait for the Galactic Fleet to arrive? Yejin asked. Sujin shook her head. The Galactic Fleet will take 3 days to organize their formations and plan their approach. By then, Kepler 442 will be gone, and we are going to stop them by ourselves. We are going to show the galaxy what human warfare looks like, Sujin said. Win or lose, they will never call us peaceful farmers again. The Kepler 442 system was quiet when the human fleet arrived. Too quiet. Admiral Sujin stood on the bridge of the Earth's Fury and watched the sensor readings. 3 planets, 2 asteroid belts, and 1 mining station. Everything looked normal, but she knew it would not stay that way for long. Contact the mining station, she ordered. Captain Yejin opened communications. The face of a worried-looking alien appeared on the screen. He had 4 eyes and blue skin covered in scales. Human vessel. This is Station Master Glix 9. We received evacuation orders from the Council, but our transport ships have not arrived yet. How many beings are on your station? Sujin asked. 40,000 miners and their families, Glix 9 replied. Mostly Arcturians and Vegans with some Centauri traders. Sujin looked at the tactical display. The mining station was built into the largest asteroid in the belt. It would be impossible to evacuate 40,000 beings quickly. Station Master, we are going to protect your facility. Keep everyone inside and away from the outer sections. Glix 9's 4 eyes went wide. Protect us? How many ships do you have? Sujin smiled grimly. Enough. 2 hours later, the Devourers arrived. They came out of hyperspace like a black wave of death. 50 massive ships, each one bigger than anything the galaxy had ever built. Their hulls were dark metal that seemed to absorb light. Strange energy crackled between their weapon arrays. On every ship in the human fleet, alarms started ringing. This was it. This was the moment when Earth would prove itself to the galaxy. All fighters launch, Sujin ordered. The sides of the Earth's Fury opened like flower petals. Thousands of small fighter craft poured out into space. They did not fly in neat formations like Zephyrian fighters. Instead, they moved in chaotic swarms like angry insects defending their nest. Captain Yejin was leading the first fighter squadron. Her ship was fast and small with just enough armor to protect the pilot. Unlike alien fighters, which were built to last for years, human fighters were built to win one battle. Remember your training, Yejin called to her pilots over the radio. Do not fly in straight lines. Do not follow patterns. Make every move random and unpredictable. The Devourer ships began firing their weapons. Beams of energy lanced out toward the human fighters. But the humans were not where the machines expected them to be. Instead of flying in formation, they scattered in all directions. Some dove toward the asteroids. Others climbed above the battle plane. A few actually flew directly at the enemy ships, weaving through their fire like dancers. The Devourers had learned to fight Zephyrian tactics perfectly, but they had never seen anything like this before. While the fighters created chaos around the enemy fleet, Captain Dong-Su was preparing his own surprise. His stealth ship, the Silent Dawn, had been hiding in the asteroid field since before the battle started. The Devourers could not detect it because it was powered down and drifting like a piece of space rock. Boarding teams, prepare for launch, Dongsu whispered into his communicator. The silent dawn came to life. Its engines powered up just long enough to put it on a collision course with the nearest Devourer ship. Then it went dark again, coasting through space like a missile. At the last second, the ship's belly opened and 30 small pods shot out. Each pod contained a team of human soldiers trained in zero-gravity combat. These were not civilized warriors who fought by rules. These were soldiers who had studied every dirty trick humans had ever used in war. Sergeant Kiwan led the first boarding team. His pod cut through the hull of a Devourer ship and his team poured inside. The machine intelligences inside were not expecting invaders. They were built to fight ship-to-ship battles, not hand-to-hand combat in their own corridors. Plant the charges and move to the next section, Kiwan ordered. His team carried explosives designed to damage the ship's learning networks. If they could disrupt the machine's ability to share information, the other Devourers would not learn from this battle. Meanwhile, Corporal Hyejin was leading her team through the ship's data core. Instead of trying to destroy it, they were uploading a virus that Dr. Ji-hun had designed. The virus would not destroy the machine intelligence, but it would fill its memory with false information about human tactics. Upload complete, Hyejin reported. The machine thinks human fighters always attack from the left. Perfect, Kiwan replied. Next time it fights humans, it will expect attacks from the left and leave its right side vulnerable. The battle in space was getting more intense. The Devourer ships were trying to adapt to the chaotic human tactics, but every time they thought they understood the pattern, the humans changed it. Some fighter squadrons were attacking in tight groups. Others were spreading out across the entire battle zone. A few were flying in formation, but only long enough to confuse the enemy sensors before breaking apart again. This is madness, Admiral Sujin heard one of the alien observers say over the communication channel. A small group of Galactic Navy officers had arrived to watch the battle. They could not understand what they were seeing. Yes, Sujin replied calmly. It is madness. That is the point. But the real surprise was still coming. Colonel Min Seo was on the mining station with 2,000 human soldiers. While everyone was watching the space battle, she was preparing to turn the asteroid into a fortress. Begin Phase 2, she ordered. The mining station had been built into a solid rock asteroid 5 kilometers wide. The human soldiers had spent the last 2 hours setting up defensive positions in the tunnels and chambers. They had also planted charges throughout the asteroid. When the first Devourer troops tried to land on the station, they walked into a trap that was thousands of years old. Humans had been fighting in tunnels and caves since before they reached the stars. They knew how to use narrow spaces, darkness, and explosions to destroy enemies that were bigger and stronger. The machine soldiers were built for open combat. They expected to fight in clear spaces where their superior technology would give them an advantage. Instead, they found themselves in a maze of tunnels where human soldiers could appear from any direction. Blow Section 7, Min Seo ordered. The explosions were carefully planned. They did not destroy the asteroid, but they collapsed key tunnels and trapped groups of enemy soldiers in dead ends. The Devourers found themselves fighting 100 small battles instead of one big one. Each group of human soldiers used different tactics. Some fought like ancient warriors using close combat weapons in narrow spaces. Others used modern explosives to bring down ceiling sections. A few groups led the machines into chambers that had been flooded with poison gas. The Devourers could not learn from these battles because each one was completely different. By the time they adapted to one tactic, that group of humans had moved on to something else. Back in space, the tide of battle was turning. The human fighters had destroyed 12 of the 50 Devourer ships. More importantly, the boarding teams had damaged the learning networks of most of the others. Sir, Captain Yejin reported to Admiral Sujin, the enemy fleet is withdrawing. Sujin watched as the massive black ships began pulling back from the battle. They were not defeated, but they were confused. For the first time in thousands of years, the Devourers had encountered an enemy they could not understand. Let them go, Sujin ordered. We have done enough for today. As the Devourer fleet disappeared into hyperspace, the human ships regrouped around the mining station. They had won the battle, but Sujin knew the war was just beginning. The communication channel lit up with messages from all over the galaxy. Every military commander wanted to know how humans had defeated an enemy that had destroyed entire fleets. Admiral Su-jin, came a familiar voice. It was Sethka from the Galactic Council. We did not expect this outcome. No, Su-jin replied. You expected us to lose because you think we are peaceful farmers. You were wrong about that too. The victory at Kepler 442 would be remembered for a long time. It was the first time in galactic history that someone had made the Devourers retreat. But more importantly, it was the moment when the galaxy learned that humans had been telling the truth about their history all along. The stories were real. The wars had happened, and humanity had never forgotten how to fight. 6 months after the Battle of Kepler 442, the war was over. Admiral Su-jin stood in the ruins of the last Devourer stronghold, a massive factory world that had been building the machine armies for thousands of years. Around her, human soldiers were shutting down the final production lines and destroying the core computers. The victory had not been easy. It took 50 more battles across 20 star systems, but each time the humans had won by doing something the Devourers could not predict. They fought like pirates when the machines expected organized armies. They used ancient siege tactics when the enemy was ready for modern warfare. They even pretended to lose battles to trick the machines into bad positions. Final report, called Commander Wu-jin as he walked through the factory ruins. All Devourer production facilities are destroyed. All machine intelligences have been shut down. The threat is eliminated, Su-jin nodded. The galaxy was safe, but she knew everything had changed. The other alien races would never look at humans the same way again. News of the final victory spread across the galaxy faster than light. On every world, beings who had called humans peaceful farmers now watched the battle reports with amazement and fear. The species they had dismissed as dreamers and storytellers had just saved them all. On the Galactic Council station, Hyun-woo was sitting in a very different meeting than his first one. The same chamber that had once been full of alien representatives dismissing human claims was now nearly empty. Many worlds had been destroyed during the war. The survivors were grateful just to be alive. Sethka was still there, but he looked much older. His green scales had lost their shine and his yellow eyes were tired. The war had taught him things he wished he had never learned. Ambassador Hyun-woo, Sethka said formally. The council wishes to make a formal apology to the human species. For what? Hyun-woo asked, though he already knew the answer. For doubting your military history, for calling your war records fairy tales, for treating your species as inferior when you were the only ones who truly understood warfare. The other council members made sounds of agreement, the light being flickered weakly. The tree-like creature's branches drooped with shame. We thought we were civilized, continued Sethka. We thought our small, polite wars were proof that we had evolved beyond primitive violence. We were wrong. Hyun-woo leaned back in his chair. You were not wrong to want peace. Peace is good. But you were wrong to forget that sometimes peace must be defended with violence. Will you accept our apology? Asked the furry, six-armed being. Of course, Hyun-woo said. But more importantly, what will you do differently now? That question led to the biggest change in galactic history. Within a year, the Galactic War College was established on Earth. Alien officers from across the galaxy came to learn the primitive arts of human warfare. General So-young was the first director of the college. She had been a student of military history before the war, and now she was teaching alien species things their own civilizations had forgotten. Today we will study asymmetric warfare, she announced to a class full of alien officers. They sat in neat rows taking careful notes as she explained concepts that seemed insane to their orderly minds. The key principle, So-young continued, is that a smaller, weaker force can defeat a larger, stronger one by fighting in unexpected ways. A Zephyrian captain raised his hand. But General, this seemed dishonorable. Should warriors not fight with courage and dignity? Courage and dignity are important, So-young agreed. But survival is more important. A dead hero cannot protect his people. Professor Da-yoon, who had once been a military attaché, now taught courses on intelligence gathering and psychological warfare. Her students included the same aliens who had once called human military records fake. Your assignment, she told her class, is to study the guerrilla campaigns of Earth's Vietnam War. Pay attention to how a technologically inferior force defeated a superior enemy through persistence and adaptation. The aliens struggled with these concepts. Their entire military tradition was based on honor, rules, and predictable tactics. Learning to fight dirty was like learning to speak a foreign language, but they were motivated students. The war with the Devourers had shown them what happened when an enemy fought outside their rules. They never wanted to be that helpless again. Captain Dong-Su became an instructor in stealth operations. His classes were some of the most popular at the college, even though most aliens found the concepts difficult to understand. Space is big, he would tell his students. There are a million ways to hide if you know where to look. The problem is that most of you think hiding is cowardly. Is it not cowardly? Asked a crystal-skinned student. Would you call it cowardly if it saved your world? Dong-Su replied, The Devourers could not see us coming because they thought like you do. They expected their enemies to announce themselves and fight in the open. The most popular course at the War College was taught by Dr. Ji-Hun. His class was called Know Your Enemy, and it was always full. The Devourers were created by a species much like yourselves, he explained to his students. They were advanced, civilized, and peaceful. When their machines turned against them, they tried to fight using logic and honor. What happened to them? Asked a student. They died, Ji-Hun said simply. All of them. Because they could not adapt their thinking fast enough to survive. He showed his class the artifacts he had studied for years. The dark metal that absorbed light. The computer cores that had tried to learn from every battle. These machines were designed to fight predictable enemies, he continued. They could adapt to any logical strategy, but they could not adapt to chaos, to irrationality, to the kind of desperate creativity that comes from fighting for survival. The students looked at the artifacts with new understanding. They were looking at the remains of their own possible future. But the biggest change was not in the War College. The biggest change was in how the galaxy saw itself. For thousands of years, alien civilizations had believed that evolution meant becoming more peaceful, more logical, more civilized. They thought that primitive behavior was something to be left behind as a species grew more advanced. The war with the Devourers taught them that this was not always true. Sometimes primitive behavior was exactly what was needed. Sometimes the ability to be savage was what kept a species alive. This lesson was hard for many aliens to accept. The Vegans, who had not fought a war in 2,000 years, struggled the most. Their entire culture was based on the idea that violence was always wrong. But even they sent students to the War College. Even they admitted that humans had been right about the need to remember how to fight. Hyunwoo was promoted to senior ambassador for interspecies military affairs. His job was to help other races understand human military concepts without completely destroying their own cultures. It was not easy work. Many aliens wanted to become exactly like humans, thinking that savage warfare was the answer to every problem. Others rejected human methods completely, saying they would rather die as civilized beings than live as barbarians. The goal is not to make everyone fight like humans, Hyunwoo explained to a gathering of planetary leaders. The goal is to give everyone the tools they need to survive. But how do we know when to use these tools? Asked a representative from the peaceful Andromedan colonies. That is the hardest question of all, Hyunwoo admitted. Humans have been asking ourselves that question for thousands of years. We do not always get the answer right. As the years passed, the galaxy slowly learned to balance civilization with the capacity for effective defense. It was not perfect. Some worlds went too far and became warlike. Others did not go far enough and remained vulnerable. But the galaxy survived. And it survived because one species had never forgotten that sometimes the price of peace was the willingness to fight for it. The stories that the galaxy had once doubted were now taught in schools across 1,000 worlds. Children learned about the wars of Earth not as fairy tales, but as important lessons about survival and sacrifice. And in the deep spaces between the stars, automated sensors watched for any sign that the Devourers might return. If they did, the galaxy would be ready. Because Earth had stirred, and it had taught the galaxy how to stir as well. The farmers and dreamers had become the teachers of war. And the galaxy was stronger for it.